Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Sword Cutting Basics, where I teach you the basic necessary steps you need to get into before you start cutting with a sword. A sword is a dangerous weapon and you need to learn three basic things. The first three things you need is number one, safety and knowing where others are, number two, wielding a sword and proper handling, and number three, edge alignment and the cut. I will be going over these three basic things you need to know before you get into sword. Before you start cutting with a sword, whether or not you're going to be hanging up on the wall or not, and you're going to start getting into swords, for functional use, it's a good idea to learn basic safety steps before you actually get into it. Now, whether or not you're alone or not, it's a good idea to know where everybody is and what they are doing before you begin cutting. Have your own safe kind of space that you have where you can cut without knowing that you will hit somebody. And make sure that at least people who are around watching you are at least anywhere from 7 to 12 feet away, and preferably behind you. This gives out a safe space where you can do proper cutting and nobody is really in danger. This is a very good thing because, trust me, you don't want a sword flying out of somebody's hand and impaling somebody. It's not a fun thing. So always make sure that nobody is close to you and you have a good area where you can properly do whatever you want and nobody's going to really get in your way. Now we can finally move on to number two. Footwork and handling. Now, basically what this basically is now that you have a safe zone, you can draw out your sword and make sure that nobody is around you. Make sure at least they're like 2 or 3 sword lengths away. And now you can start swinging it around and getting an idea of how the sword is. This allows you to get an idea of what type of cuts you're going to do, how the weapon feels or the sword feels, and you get an idea of what you're going to be doing. It's also a good idea that when you are cutting, to make sure that whichever direction you are cutting from to have that leg out in front and the other leg behind. So if I'm swinging from my right and the end of the sword, and when I'm stop swinging is to my left, it's a good idea to have my right leg out. This is because I don't want to bash my left leg when I'm swinging the sword and I don't hit it. Same way if you're left, you go from your left to the thing. And yes, and also make sure everybody is behind you when you are going to begin cutting. And now we can step into number 3. Now I can finally move on to number 3. Edge alignment and the cut. And a couple more basic other things like leverage. Now, a sword is not a baseball bat. You can't just swing this thing willy-nilly. On a sword, or some swords, you will have 1 or 2 edges. These need to be aligned in order to get a cut. If it is not aligned, you will not get a cut. You'll just send the thing into the neighbor's backyard. So it's a good idea to work on cutting with edge alignment. Another thing you need to know is leverage. With swords, most swords, you have a long handle. Maximize your leverage by using all of the handle. This gives you a lot of force. Some people I know swing insanely hard and think that they need that to cut. When in all honesty, all you need is leverage. Swinging way too hard endangers everybody around you, because not only it increases the chances of the sword flying out of your hand, but it's still very dangerous and can send water and bottles everywhere. Here's a cut I'm trying to screw up on my edge alignment. I still managed to cut through it, but as you will soon see, oh damn it, plane, really? The cut is not very clean, comparably to this cut. Much more cleaner. The bottle didn't go flying. It is much more smooth. It's also to practice other moves as well, including stabs. Stabs in sword fighting and yada yada is very basic and not as tricky. Now, whether you're having an arming sword or a two-handed sword, it's always good if you are using a one-handed sword to keep your hand inwards. So that isn't something that can get caught as you're cutting. Although, if you are using a shield or something, it's a good idea to practice your moves with that. But it's still a good idea to keep that hand inwards if you're just cutting with a sword. Once again, as you can see here, I don't have to use that much force, but with one-handed swords it's a good idea to use more force than usual. As you can see here, I didn't get all the way through it. So it's a good idea to use a bit more force for a one-handed sword. Once again, always keep that hand in and practice different moves. You don't always have to cut from the same way. As you can see here, beautiful cut, very good. I'm getting very good at that type of a cut direction. There are many different directions you can come at a bottle or a target, so it's a good idea to practice them all. One of my favorites is from the downwards up. Those ones always send the head flying, and that's always funny to watch. Remember, practice is key for edge alignment. You can't just get this in one day. It takes a long time. Once again, here I am practicing with my sword, getting an idea of what it feels like. Doing different types of moves. I did practice a bit in HEMA, so I know a bit of European style longswording. But whatevs. Anyway, I will now continue. Now, in all honesty, that's basically it. All you really need is practice, 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 and yada yada. You will get good enough soon that you'll be able to cut through almost any bottle. Even me, I still screw up, as you can see here. That wasn't a very clean cut. Oh yeah, this target here. This target was actually so weak that it just exploded when I hit. So here's a little bit of a slow-mo for it. Next swing, I screwed that one up. See, even me, I still screw up. Always remember, the weaker your targets are, the harder it is to go through it in the fact of edge alignment. It is easier to go through it, but still, it's good to practice it all. Here, oh yeah, here's me trying to do a false edge. The false edge is the back of a thing, of the sword. I screw it up. I'm not very good with cutting with the false edge, comparably to cutting with the right edge, which is your usual other side. I can still do that very easily, but the false edge is much difficult. Here's me actually successfully cutting with the false edge. Very good, very clean. Still need some practice. I'm going to have to continue practicing it. Even me, with 3 years, I still need to practice. And finally, the horizontal cut. The easiest cut of them all. That one's always really fun to do. Also, it's a good idea that if you have a two-sided edge weapon, to actually lay your sword on your hand with a clothing beneath it and dry this way. It is much more dangerous to try to clean it with the edge pointing to you, so it's a good idea to clean like this. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching. I hope this helps you in your future endeavors, and please do take care.